So today we're discussing emotion in interpersonal communication. Our emotional experiences and our communication about those experiences shape our lives and relationships. It is often what we remember about our encounters, and it orients us to what is important and matters in our lives. For example, if we're really sad about something, we know that that's an important issue, or that person that we're sad about is important to us. Emotion can be intense or weak, active or passive, positive or negative, although people often experience mixed emotions. So I might experience deep depression, which would be an intense feeling after a breakup, or I might be somewhat sad, which would be more weak than depression. During a breakup, if I'm active, I might be the type who wants to go right out to a party or to the bar because I'm depressed, or maybe I want to hit the gym because I want to get over this, or I might be passive when I'm sad. I might want to lay in bed and cry and um, just watch movies and not talk to anybody. Uh, and that emotion can be positive or negative. So sadness is usually a negative emotion. Positive from that breakup might be my want to get in shape, right? So my goal to get in shape, um, to improve myself, might be positive from that breakup. Dualism refers to a way of thinking that constructs polar opposite categories to encompass the totality of a thing. For example, we often consider the mind and the body to operate independently. However, it might be more so the case that the mind and the body are connected. For example, when you're when you find out that your spouse cheated on you, you might become physically sick to your stomach. That's the mind, the stress in your mind, resulting in some physiological problems with your uh, body. Experiencing emotion seems to affect people's physical functioning in ways that are not simply physical manifestations of that emotion. We can become physically sick about psychological things. Now, when we talk about emotions, we assume that everyone experiences the same feelings or emotions, which is not necessarily the case. Most of that is due to meta emotion, which are our emotions about our emotions. The best example of this might be love. For example, some people feel great about love. They love to be in love. For them, love is like being on cloud nine. Whereas for someone like me, love is inspires a lot of anxiety in my life. Frankly, I don't like to be in love because it makes me anxious. And because I feel a lack of control. I don't necessarily control my emotions anymore if I'm giving them to someone else. So for me, love feels like a lot of anxiety, whereas for others it feels great, and that's the meta emotion. I'm very anxious about being in love. I have a fear of love. Darwin placed importance on expressions, believing emotive gestures to be universal across all cultures. He argued that gestures of emotion were remnants of an important prehistoric behavior, and that people enact these behaviors as a result of experiencing emotion. So, for example, in an earlier session, we discussed the historical reasons why smiling might be um, universal. For example, even remote cultures in the rainforest or something that are encountered um, use smiling just like Western and Eastern people, contemporary people do. So Darwin would have said that the purpose of smiling served some prehistoric purpose. So, in the past, I have speculated that maybe by showing someone your teeth, I mean, you might have originally been growling at them and then changing that facial expression slightly to show that you're approachable into a smile. "Ah," and then smiling from it might have been the best way to signal like friendship or attractiveness. By showing your teeth, you might show that you're healthy, that you have all of your teeth and haven't contracted some sort of disease or ailment. And somebody has previously commented that even like gorillas smile at each other. You see them um, in the wild or in zoos, like smiling at each other. So that would support Darwin's claim that these are like prehistoric, pre Homo sapien behaviors that signal something, and that we're programmed to know what those things mean. The social model of emotion discusses how the reaction of others to our gestures help us define what we are feeling. So we might know that we're in a bad mood because somebody else asks us, like, "Are you in a bad mood?" And you might think, "Oh, sorry, I'm just my head's not in it today." Um, or somebody might go when we say something and we realize, "Shoot, I'm being a jerk." Based on their reaction to what I said, I realize that, oh wow, I'm in a bad mood, or um, what have you. So emotional experience means the feeling of emotions. We have emotional experiences throughout the day, unless we are neurodivergent in some way, like a psychopath or something, who feel emotions less often and sometimes engage in risky behaviors in order to feel emotions. Emotional communication means actually talking about the experience. So when we're uh, using emotional communication, we're telling our spouse about how we feel. When we talk about emotion, we assume that others have experienced similar emotions, but due to meta emotion, like I mentioned, we may be experiencing different feelings. Like, for example, love to me feels anxiety, like a lot of anxiety, or makes me nervous. Communicating emotionally means the emotion itself, not the content of the message, but the property of it. So if I'm communicating emotionally, I might be yelling like this, "Oh my goodness," because the nonverbal cues you into the um, severity of the emotion that I am experiencing. Communication performance can be affected by emotions such as fear, anxiety, embarrassment, anger, and depression, right? So somebody is fearful when maybe their eyes are really wide. Um, and maybe you can tell that they're depressed because they're sluggish. They're kind of there's no pep in their step, and they're laying around. Facial expressions like smiles, vocal cues like loudness, gestures, and verbal cues such as sarcasm provide clues as to what emotion somebody is feeling. So, smiles signify I'm happy or something is funny or I'm faking it. Uh, Vocal cues like loudness might be I'm excited, pitch, similar, I'm excited. And if I'm speaking really fast, maybe I'm nervous. Gestures, um, if I am gesturing a lot, probably I'm in an excited state. Uh, Verbal cues such as sarcasm show that it may be unplayful. Cultures differ in how much they think and discuss their emotions. In the United States, in the Western world, we are sometimes ridiculed by like Japanese for how much we are concerned about our emotions and how we feel, because in that culture, it's more stoic. It's more just accept it and uh, um, stop being so self uh, concerned. But you'll notice a lot of your everyday communication begins with "I feel like," or talking about your own experiences in the frame of your emotions. Gender differences or stereotypes hold that women are more emotional, expressive, and attuned to the emotions of others than men. You can, of course, take issue with that, particularly in how emotion, quote, emotion is measured and how expressiveness is measured. Um, because men are more prone to emote violently or in anger um, than women are, um, which is why you see a lot of the incarceration violent offenders are mostly a lot or overwhelmingly male, uh, even though the gender difference is that women are quote more emotional. Emotional contagion shows that emotions transfer from one person to another. And a great way to think of emotional contagion is like if you're at a baseball game and the guy next to you jumps out of his seat to high five, you're probably going to get a little excited, jump out of your seat and high five. His emotions are transferred to you. That excitement is communicative, it's contagious. If you hang around somebody who's always sad or unproductive, you're more likely to be sad and unproductive. So, um, in like the self help world or self improvement world, there people are always talking about choose your friends wisely, um, and if the people around you aren't succeeding, get a new group of people because that sort of success is contagious. The hard work, perseverance, happiness are are contagious emotions. Recognize the difference between feeling and acting. So, in order to control our emotions or to monitor or self monitor, obviously, we can't help the feeling of an emotion, but we can help how we act upon it. And we can choose to be passive rather than active portrayers of, let's say, our anger as an emotion, right? So rather than yelling and screaming at somebody, if we're angry, we can remove ourselves from the situation, collect our thoughts before we say something that we might regret. Choosing the best time and place to express feelings is key to having our needs met or achieving goals. So if we are going to bioreact, which it's called in like literature about children who are um, reacting violently or negatively in a classroom, um, if we're in that moment going to bioreact in rage or anger, if we can count to three or collect our thoughts before doing so, we can control our emotions better. And again, we can accept responsibility for our feelings and manage our emotions using I messages. I feel like you are not, I feel like I am in a bad mood today. I feel upset that we didn't accomplish this task today. You might say to your wife, instead of saying, I can't believe, instead of saying you didn't fold the laundry, you didn't paint the shed like you said you were going to. So thoughts cause positive and negative feelings. Our emotions are caused by our thoughts, and those emotions can be facilitative or debilitative. For example, like I said, sadness might inspire in some to productivity, to attack the gym, get in better physical shape, where sadness for somebody else might debilitate them to the point of being bedridden, depressed, and bedridden. Irrational thinking can be debilitating. Sometimes our fears and of failure keep us from trying. um, so generally, we have irrational fears, although some fears are rational. So not all fear is irrational. It's just that um, fears of dying, for example, certain phobias are irrational. Like, let's say you have arachnophobia, you're scared of spiders and you don't want to leave your house because of it. It might be irrational if you live in Pennsylvania, where there are none or almost no poisonous spiders that could bite you. And it might be more rational if you're in a different section of the world. The key to maximize facilitative emotions, the key is to maximize facilitative emotions and minimize debilitative emotions. So the key is to know when I'm experiencing intense emotions, if they are debilitative, is to have some kind of tools so that I can overcome those intense emotions. And for some, going to the gym is that sort of uh, tool that they use.